this thing is ridiculously fast. Gotta love it.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today, I am super stoked to be reviewing the latest pony in the stable here. It is a 2012 Yamaha FZ1. The Yamaha FZ1 is just a fantastic all-around motorcycle. It has the 1000cc motor from Yamaha's legendary R1, and really when you drive it, it's the star of the show. Just from any RPM, this thing pulls like a banshee. It's fast. The layout of this bike is very comfortable, and really this is kind of a gentleman's R1. You're not, you don't have to sit in a racer tuck when you ride it. If you want to go riding with your buddies that have Harleys, you can do it. If you want to go touring, some light duty touring, you can certainly do that. Throw on some soft luggage and do some touring. If you just want to blitz some back roads and hit the corners, this bike is amazingly capable, probably more capable than most riders. You just have to be mindful of that throttle, because when you twitch your wrist, this thing jumps.
Today I am on Yamaha's 2012 FZ1, and for the FZ1, Yamaha took their R1 motor and they put it in a little bit more upright touring and standard style chassis, and it is just a phenomenal all-around general purpose motorcycle. It will literally do any type of riding you want to do, except of course off-road and adventure riding. They're a lot lighter than your typical touring bike, and for the type of riding that I don't do a ton of highway, and honestly I don't like the highway. And these bikes are just fantastic for the type of riding I do. A lot of back road riding, general purpose riding. If I want to go fast, I can. If I want to hit the corners, I can do that. And then on my way to and from the corners, I'm not folded up like a pretzel, so they're just so much nicer and more usable than, say, the full-on super sport bikes. If you have to occasionally take a passenger, they certainly are a lot better than like an R1 or any of the super sports, really. This bike has 18,000 miles on it. It was adult owned, and it's a really nice example of an FZ1. It's got some nice little features on it. I don't know if you can see, but it does have the gear indicator. That's tremendously nice. It's got a fuel gauge, which is great. Temp, everything is right there where you can see it. Big tack, analog tack, which I really like. And this bike, it has a lot of motor. Any RPM, any gear, this thing accelerates with authority. Yeah, this bike is sneaky fast. It has a stock exhaust, so it's quiet, and even if you're not coming anywhere near the actual limits of the bike as far as acceleration go, it accelerates hard. These bikes also present a tremendous value, even when you compare the FZ1 to a bike like the FJ09 or the FZ09. This bike is, if you look at the componentry, if you look at really almost every aspect of the bike, it's a higher quality product. And when you ride the FZ09 and the FJ09, they're fantastic machines as well, but you can feel they're just definitely built to a budget. And this bike has the fully adjustable suspension front and rear. It's got huge brakes off of the R1. The suspension is so much sportier and more well controlled than the FZ09 or the FJ09. And even the throttle control is a little bit easier on this bike, although it is a big motor, and the way Yamaha sets its throttles up, and as soon as you crack the throttle, this thing goes, especially if you have it a little bit higher in the RPM. Yeah, this thing is ridiculously fast. Gotta love it. And even that is just, I'm not dumping the clutch, I'm just riding this thing pretty tamely. Not running it to red line, you just don't even have to. The setup of the suspension on this bike is sporting, well controlled, but not abusive. It's the way I like to set my suspension up. Wind protection at highway speeds is not bad. My head is in clean air, and really don't have any issues with buffeting from the windshield. We'll hit a couple little twisties here. The key to riding this bike fast is really smoothness, and the only real place where I think I would set it up a little bit differently for myself would be to have a little bit more linear progression on the throttle, so where when I first crack the throttle open after being off throttle, it does not pick up quite so abruptly. Brakes are tremendous. The actual handling of the bike is tremendous. There's just that little bit of slack, and I'll tighten the chain up just a hair, and that'll help with it. But the on-off throttle transition is it would just take a little bit of practice to get that smooth. Comfort-wise, this bike is really all-day comfortable. It's set up with a nice, I'm 6'3" plus, and I'm not all folded up. This is an all-day comfortable bike for me. This particular bike has an aftermarket seat, which helps with the comfort. This bike is very smooth. I do get a little bit of vibration around 5,000 RPM. I can feel a little bit of tingle through the bars, but it's not annoying. The bar setup for me is very comfortable. It almost looks like a drag bar, but because of the risers, it's in a very comfortable position, and it's wide enough that it gives a good amount of leverage on the bars. This bike also competes with Kawasaki's Ninja 1000, and in comparison to that bike, the feel is honestly quite similar between the two motorcycles. I think the Kawasaki probably has a little bit better smoother shifting transmission, and this Yamaha definitely has better brakes. It has the big units from the R1, and really this thing stops hard.
Yamaha's 2012 FZ1 is a tremendously capable all-around machine. This particular example, I'll go over a couple of the extras that are on it. It does have the adjustable brake and clutch levers, as you can see. It also has a gear indicator, which is an additional feature. It has a locking, like a Throttle Meister type cruise control. It has the highway pegs. It also has frame sliders, fork sliders, and rear axle sliders. It does have the custom seat. and it does have a fender eliminator on it as well. And these bikes just represent a tremendous used motorcycle value. If you want one bike that'll just do everything really, really well, these things are definitely worth a look. Especially if you like bikes that are on the more sporting side. These bikes are set up to cover a lot of miles quickly and easily, and they really are tremendous. It's not, I would say it's definitely not a beginner's bike because of the power delivery of the bike, both the amount of power and how quickly it makes power right off of idle. But if you're looking for a kind of an open GT bike that really has nice higher end quality components on it, excellent brakes, very sophisticated suspension front and back, and all around comfort, man, these things are just, it's hard to find a bike that does everything as well as these things do it. In a future episode, I will be servicing this bike, and it'll be a fairly comprehensive service. But this bike, the nice thing, it's got a center stand, so that makes servicing the chain and changing the oil and filter very, very easy. We'll probably also take a look at the air filter on the bike and just go over things. I'll let you know what's on my service list of items that I'm going to be looking at. So stay tuned for that in a future episode. All right, hope you enjoyed.